G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with pretty much an FIA race combination, except it's not actually the race. This is a practice race for the next round of the FIA Nations Cup. So the combination in question, Kyoto Driving Park, Yamagiwa, so just the northern section, in reverse in the Mazda Roadster touring cars. And this was some practice leading up to it, but this race was honestly so good that I was like, screw it, let's make a video on the practice. And obviously you have not seen the real races yet, so you can expect those in the coming days, and obviously practice comes before the race, so that's what we've got here to start us off. I think I've got about 3 videos from this combination, but we start off in second. No point really showing qualifying because this is just a practice race, we're just practicing the race conditions. So why am I showing this? Basically because we had an awesome race with the guy currently in second, West Road 350Z. So we're going to see just how this race develops and how close we actually get, and for how long we are close together for. So we do have a couple of other people we know. This is once again a practice lobby, so we do have some people we have never seen before, because anybody can join these. All they have to do is select it. But we have our good mate Atom down in 4th. I don't think he plays too much of a role in this race, although I could be wrong. I spliced this footage together quite a few days ago, and I'm only getting around to the commentary now. I've been very busy editing other stuff too. Got plenty coming in the next few weeks. But straight off the bat on lap 1, I went past West Roads at turn 1, and he's sort of coming back at me in the second part of this lap. And this combination is actually really awesome for close racing, because these Mazdas are really easy to drive. So there's no real risk of sort of crashing. The only risk of crashing comes from sort of making a mistake at one of the pinch points on the track. There's no real risk of just binning the car because it's too hard to drive, and it's really good for close racing, and that's basically what we're going to see. So I'll just go over the strategy really quickly for this race. It's a no-stop race on sports soft tyres. The tyre wear does kind of kick in a little bit as West Roads gets a penalty, and he'll obviously lose that position currently to Atom, so I think he must come into the picture at some point. But the strategy, no stop on sports softs. The tyre wear does come into a little bit, so you do have to kind of not, you can't really go full 100% ham on your tyres because you'll drop off a lot at the end. But if you just take it nice and sort of easy, don't go too hard, but you don't really need to do tyre saving techniques. It's just a nice smooth drive, and you will get to the end fairly convincingly. Fuel is no worries at all. We've got more than enough fuel to do, I think it's almost twice the race distance on a tank, so there's really no worries there. So West Roads gets shuffled out at turn 1 a little bit and just leaves Atom to take hold of that second position. He's going to be vying for this first position here, which I've managed to keep for a little over a lap at this point. So this track's actually a really cool track. I like this track. I think we've had this come up in Group 3, and I've driven it in this combination a couple of times. Actually, we'll come back to that because Adam's got a massive run out of the triple chicane halfway through the lap, and he's flying up the inside at turn 10, and he's going to have the inside line. And this is what makes this combination really awesome. All these long corners, grip limited, but you can carry so much speed, and there's differing lines because the track is so wide for these cars. Differing lines, and it just allows people to run side by side. Not really through these S's here because these are downhill and so close to flat out. It's pretty on edge. As you can see, Atom using all of the available track width there on the exit coming into the final turn. You do have to be very careful there not to get a penalty, and we've run a little bit wide through the middle part of the corner, and it's just given a little look in for Sammy on the inside on the exit of the final corner, and West Road is now got on the inside of Sammy. So this is a very precarious position we find ourselves in, squeezing up against the pit wall 3 wide, and then West Roads just pops out the back, and I managed to have the inside for turn 1, and I'm still right on the back of Atom at this point in time. So coming out of here, we've once again just got to, be really careful and make sure we get these corner cuts right, because that's what I was going to touch on just before. This track is a really cool track, but it does have a little bit of a quirk, a track limit related quirk at this track. The track limit everywhere is 2 wheels on the curb, minimum, and that's it. It doesn't matter where your other wheels are, as long as you are touching some part of the curb with some part of your car, you'll get through any corner penalty free. So that means at the triple chicane, at the flip-flop chicane, at the S's, everywhere where you're right on edge, it's 2 on the curb and 2 on the grass. As you can see, we kind of straddle that second curb. Actually, we don't get the best of runs. We don't really demonstrate the full extent of the track limits on that particular occasion, but what we have done on that occasion is get a better run than Atom, and that's given us a look in around the outside of this little left kink at turn 9 and the inside at turn 10, and I was really cautious not to run Atom out of road there, so I took a quite conservative line on the inside, and Atom just took full advantage of that and kept the momentum around the outside, and he's managed to keep that first position on the third tour of this race. So we're just going to duck into his slipstream, and this is what makes this sequence really, really difficult, is because you're now in the dirty air, and you might look at these cars and think, well, what's the dirty air? There's no dirty air, is there? There is a rear wing on the car, so there must be some sort of dirty air sort of impact if you're right behind. It's obviously not going to be too much, but in a section of the track like the S's towards the end of the lap, where you are so on edge to try and keep the throttle pinned, any bit of hindrance, any little thing acting against you to try and keep that trying to keep that throttle flat is going to just push you back a little bit and just place you so on edge that you will have to have some comfort lifts. Whether or not they're needed or not, you don't want to push yourself beyond the limit and end up getting a track limit penalty, because they're quite crucial at this track, especially in these cars. Very, very slow to accelerate, so if you lose a penalty, you're going to be losing bucket loads of time, especially at the penalty zone that or one of the penalty zones that you will be using at this track. It's just on the exit of the triple chicane going uphill, so if you serve even half a second, you're going to be losing a buttload of time. But it's all good. We continue on. We've still all gone penalty free. West Road is down in 4th at this point. We are going to have to keep a slight bit of attention diverted towards his race there. You can see demonstrating the track limits on the second apex, and Atom demonstrating the track limits very much so on the exit of the triple chicane. That's kind of the line. 2 wheels on the curb, 2 wheels on the grass. We've got a better run than him this time around the outside of turn 9, inside for turn 10 again. I'm going to try and carry a little bit more speed than last time, because we know we can not, we don't have to run so slow as to give Atom the complete run around the outside. We've done a little bit of a better job that time, but he does just swoop in ahead. We've still not quite been able to get that position, so it's really beginning to look like maybe the outside line might be the more favoured position there, because even if you do get side by side on the exit there, if you have the momentum coming down into the S's, you're probably going to grab that position off your opponent anyway, because generally a slower car is going to back out towards that section. You don't really want to run side by side through the S's. We get a little tiny bit of an overlap on the exit, but it's not enough to get anything done, so we're just going to duck into the slipstream, and his Atom's gone to the right hand side. He's not defended the inside, so we're going to see this move coming into turn 1. I'm definitely going for this move on the brakes really, really late, and we managed to meet that apex. 2 wheels on the inside curb, sort of on the apexes of the hairpins. You don't want to be grazing the grass. Atom's wide on the exit, so he's made a complete hash of that and has gifted me, or I'm not going to say gifted me first position, he's gifted me currently the first place in the race. But there's still a lot of this race to play out as we head up towards the hairpin again. So West Roads has dispatched Sammy, or just as I said that, he's gone back down into 4th position. So he's still got a little bit of work to do to get back up into the 2nd position, but currently the gap to Atom behind has opened up to 1.2 seconds on the exit of the hairpin. But we skip ahead, quite a large skip, up to lap 10. So we didn't really follow the progress of West Road's race at all. He's kind of just sort of flown under the radar. In fact, Sammy's gone, so we're not sure whether they've dropped down the grid or whether they've left the lobby or for whatever reason. But West Roads has now finally got himself into 2nd position, and this is where we see this race hot up quite a lot. So I find myself in the defensive position. I've got to try and hold my line and keep cool to try and keep this position off the attacking car behind. But for West Roads being the attacking car, he's got to try and look for where I'm weak and where he can potentially sort of take advantage of that and get the move done. That's generally what you're looking for, especially in a combination like this where the cars are so easy to drive that generally the field spread is pretty low. It's pretty big in this case, but I suspect in the actual FIA race the skill gaps will be quite small because the car is so easy to drive. A little bit wide off the exit of turn 10, and Westroads has got the major run. I just keep it slightly faintly to the inside coming into the S's, and instead of trying to go for overlap, he actually just bumps into the back of me and gives me a nice run through the S's. That's probably the smart decision for the pair of us. Running side by side through there will just lose both of us time, and currently at this point, while Atom is down the road a little bit, I think he actually made a mistake in this race and sort of lost a load of time. I don't think he's that far down by pure pace alone, but he will be kind of in a position to try and capitalise on a mistake if one of us does crash. So we do have to be quite careful in that sense, as West Road takes a little faint look down the inside at turn 1, but he doesn't go for it. So good handful of overtaking opportunities here, by the way. Turn 1, turn 4, the exit of the triple chicane, you can get something done at turn 10 and at the final corner on the exit. So there's no real risk of getting stuck in a position. The track's very, very wide, there's a load of lines, and there's parts of the track that are very, very skill dependent, and if you can get a driver just even slightly off the pace through one of these tricky pinch points of the circuit, pressure points of the circuit if you will, the time difference that two people will gain will be quite big, even if the person that does lose out is only slightly off the pace. And one of the main, in fact the main talking point of the track, the triple chicane, is one of the most difficult parts of the lap here, and Westroads and I have done that pretty much fairly similarly there, and Westroads actually does have the benefit of slipstream heading up the hill, so even if he did get a slightly worse exit than me, he will have the slipstream assistance up the hill, so that will help his speed out quite a lot. But in this particular instance, it wasn't quite enough for him to get an overlap coming into turn 10, so we once again have to circulate through the circuit in the current formation, myself in first, Westroads in second. We do have to remember there's not really too much riding on this. As you can see, he takes kind of a wider line into the sweepers than I do. The S's down the hill, it's actually a lot harder in this direction down the hill as opposed to uphill. It'll probably be a little bit easier flat out, but in this direction it's a lot harder. But this final turn's really interesting too, because you can take a wide entry for a faster exit, but by doing that you take less speed into the entry of the corner, you take all the speed out. So it just invites a car to sort of send it up the inside a little bit, and we're just going to cover West Roads because he did kind of look like he was going to go for the move, and then he's got me out of position here, and he's gone back to the outside of the circuit on the entry to try and get the better line than me through the corner, but I stop it on the apex and stomp on the power, controlling any oversteer with the steering wheel, and we manage to still defend that position. Coming up through the flip-flop chicane, which is this sort of double chicane, into this faint left on the exit. You've got to be really careful with the inputs there, and then coming up into the second hairpin of the lap. Westroads a little bit too far back to go for that particular move there, but he does get a little bit closer on the exit, and he will have slipstream assistance down the hill towards the triple chicane. And while it's not an overtaking opportunity in terms of traditional overtaking, sending it down the inside under braking, it is a good place where maybe if I make a big mistake through here, I lose a load of time on the exit, and that will give the car behind a better run and potentially an overtake into the following corner, which I guess technically is turn 9, but the main overtaking spot where you'll get a move done is going to be turn 10, which is this long right-hander coming up where there's basically no brakes, actually a little bit of brakes at this stage in the race with the level of tyre wear currently. As you can see, actually the tyre wear dipping down probably towards 40% worn, especially on that front left tyre. Obviously being a clockwise circuit, you're going to be using your left-hand tyres a lot harder. But coming down the hill, still, Westroads right behind me, putting the pressure on, and he hasn't got quite the best of exits there, perhaps mistiming the little lift that you must take downhill on the S's at this stage in the race in the dirty air, and he's just lost a little bit of ground, and you can see he may have started to make a little bit of time up on the exit, but he lost it all again. So he's going to be looking for this move down into turn 1, and I know coming onto the last lap, I've got no choice but to defend this. He gives me the dummy. It looks like he was going to switch to the outside, so I started moving outside, and then he just darted back to the inside, so that's quite an expert level maneuver there, but he's gone deep into the corner. We're going to be able to get this switch back on the exit. We do get the overlap a little bit, however he has the inside for the turn 2, and it's going to be really hard to hang it around the outside here, so we kind of take a conservative approach and just sort of slot in behind him, and he actually gets a little bit of a poor run as we're switching across the back of him, and we're flying up the inside at the following hairpin, and we hit our braking mark, and Westroads doesn't. He flies deep into the corner, straight onto the grass, and has gifted me that position. Oh man, he put a load of pressure on, and he managed to just nab that position where it really counted on the final lap, but unfortunately for him, I had him out of position, and he was not able to correctly pick out his braking marker, and by the end of the race, we managed to hold that first position in this practice lobby. So while it's only a practice lobby, I just think that race was absolutely fantastic, and we've managed to keep that position off Westroads with a nice battle. And unfortunately, it did end with a mistake on the other party, leaving me to take the first position, but a first position is a first position, and a nice battle is a nice battle, so we will take that any day of the week. There's not really too much else to say. We've got the actual races for this FIA combination coming up in the coming days, so do keep an eye out for that. But based on this performance here, I'm very much looking forward to what the Yamagiwa Kyoto Driving Park and the Mazda Roadster Touring Cars combination has in store for us. But that's going to finish up this video today, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Do leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, and constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.